Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. I hope you are doing great. A video I did 3 weeks ago calling a bank collapse in the third week of August has now come to pass. And we're going to talk about that right now. Now, that video I did was 3 weeks ago. It was entitled Heartland Bank PacWest Banking Crash. And the reason why I did this video was because I had called that crash to the week about 2 months prior. There's a normal cycle to these banking crashes, and we're going to go over. I'm going to play you this like 10-second clip, 15-second clip to show you that I actually said when it was going to happen. Now we're going to show you this bank that's crashed. It is being forced to be shut down by the Federal Reserve because of some really crazy things they did. Now, it was in the news a couple of weeks ago that they were having problems and that they were being investigated, but the Federal Reserve actually put the hammer down, I believe, this last Friday, so right before the third week of August. So check this out. Here we go.
In that small period of time, and they couldn't let any more go through. They got to put some time between it because they got to let the American public not only digest it, but completely forget about it. Usually, from what I've found, is most Americans forget anything after 2 weeks. At least management does, whoever you're working for. But my point being, let's be serious, is that there's some time needed to happen. Now, the next wave has begun, and I believe I'm going to throw out another date. I think I could be wrong. Uh, third week of August. Third week of August. I believe we're going to see the next one. It could happen before that. It could happen after, but it's guaranteed it's going to happen after. But I think the next one we won't see happen. So we got PacWest and this Tri-State going down right now. I think we'll see the next one third week of August. I think there'll be enough lies to tell you and full your brains full in the mainstream media for the next.
All right, so there you go. All right, so now we're at the third week of August, and we have Farmington, the Bank of Farmington. Now check this out. I got my laptop in front of me. I want to read you some stuff, but first I'm going to start with the actual website from the Bank of Farmington. Ugh, calm down, Ninja. All right, here we go. So Bank of Farmington, Integrity Community Bank. It says, now why choose us? Now you got to think about this. What bank could be next? I told you 6 months ago, before we had the fallout, or sorry, just as we started having the fallout from Silvergate La Jolla. So it wasn't exactly 6 months ago. Maybe it was. I said that there are more. There are a lot of banks that were tied into crypto, and you're going to see those come out in the future. Just because they haven't come out at the exact same time as Silvergate La Jolla, what is happening is the Federal Reserve is sort of holding this flood back. The dam is cracking. There's water leaking everywhere. They're like plugging the dam with all their fingers. They're trying their hardest to hold this flood back. And how they're doing that is they are using the repo, the repurchase window, an opportunity for banks that have liquidity problems. And we're going to talk about Bank of Farmington's liquidity problem. Well, actually, I can just tell you right now, they had around $98 million in deposits as of last September. And as the deluge, what was happening is they were tied to the FTX scandal. They had problems already. People started to pull money out of the bank. They didn't even know the people that were pulling money out of the bank. They didn't even know that they had problems. They were pulling money out of their bank because of in fear of what was happening, 4 months ago in the springtime. Those deposits went from 98 million to approximately $19 million. So you could see the massive amount of money that was pulled out of this smaller bank and the pressure that they were coming under. Now, what I want to tell you, and I want to be very clear, late this fall, you are going to see more of these banks be exposed because of what's happening in Farmington. So use this bank as an example of what's happening to other banks. Now, the problem is we don't know exactly which banks are affected, but we do know that over 720 of them went to the Federal Reserve last September and told the Federal Reserve that they were essentially insolvent. Now, that happened prior to the mass M2 money supply shrinking as people were running and pulling money out of their banks, and they were trying to get more yield because of inflation. This is a massive, massive crisis, literally on the scale of the crash of 29. You are witnessing it before it happens, but it's not before it happens. It's before the sheeple wake up to see that it's happening, because it's actually happening right now. All right, so on their website, just got to read this before we get to the news. It says here, the Bank of Farmington, our main mission, the mission of the Bank of Farmington is to remain an independent bank, locally owned and controlled, providing the services needed to our community. We will deliver an excellent product in an efficient manner, provide provided by knowledgeable, capable personnel. Were those people knowledgeable and capable? Not when they started diving into crypto. And get ready for what they did in crypto that actually led to their demise. It'll blow your mind. We put our customers first, knowing when this is accomplished, the investment on our employees and shareholders shall be maximized. They have over 120 years of banking experience. We are talking about a bank that made it through the Great Depression. When I tell you that this crash is going to be worse than the Great Recession, and I give you examples of so many companies that made it through the Great Recession and are now closing, but even that, so many companies that made it through the crash of 29 and the Great Depression and are closing their doors, that means it's really, really bad. It says here in the Bank of Farmington in the news, you go through all their news stories, there's nothing about what's going on. Of course there isn't, because they don't want to incite a riot, essentially, of people running down and withdrawing their monies. They were founded in 1903. This bank has been around longer than the current iteration of the Federal Reserve. Now, it only has 4 locations, and you may be thinking, you know what, Ninja, this is not a big deal. Okay. What I'm trying to tell you is this. This is an action that I'm going to show you brought on by the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve actually brought an action against this bank and said you are to cease and desist all activities. You are not allowed to literally move a single dollar without giving it to us in writing first. And they have already agreed to sell off their loan portfolio and their deposits, right? Only 4 locations. This is why this is being allowed to be done in the public eye. Why? Because the Federal Reserve knows it's not that big of a deal. Get a couple of these little ones closing and the deposits shift over to a bigger bank. What the Federal Reserve wants to do is get you in a moment of clarity, or let's see, I'm going to tell you it's a lack of clarity, but in your mind you're going to be clarity going, oh, this is sort of normal. There's a shakeup, it's happening, it's good. It sucks, but it's good because our money's safe. We're going over the next bank. But you don't realize the bigger deal that is happening behind the scenes. Check this out. Federal Reserve, and this is out of blockworks.co, Federal Reserve takes enforcement action on Farmington Bank, citing stablecoin venture. The bank previously had ties to both Sam Bankman-Fried and Alameda. Said the Federal Reserve announced that it's taking enforcement action against Farmington State Bank, alleging that it improperly changed its business plan and failed to inform the Fed. Specifically, the Fed claims that Farmington violated its commitments by changing its business plan without receiving written approval from either the Board of Governors, the Reserve Bank, or the Washington State Department of Financial Institutions. Get ready for this, because this is crazy what they did. This isn't just investing in crypto or speculating crypto. Farmington made a commitment to work with and help design IT infrastructure to facilitate the third party's issuance of stable coins to the public in exchange for receipt of 50% of mint and burning fees on certain stable coins, and took material steps to implement the memorandum of understanding, the Fed said on Thursday's filings. This is insane to contemplate that a bank would develop a stable coin and issue it, and then be able to literally take 50% of the mint and the burn fees is absolutely insane. You are literally talking about a bank that has created its own currency and is making money from the issuance and the burning of said currency. That is literally, this is very important for people to understand, means a bank, a small bank of 4 locations, took over the job of the Fed. Think about that. The Federal Reserve makes money, destroys money, and it gets all the money from making the money, right? And they're the con men, but we're the ones that are fooled thinking it's got some value, intrinsic value. The only value it has is the value you put on it when you go and buy goods or services with it, right? And that confidence can be built up or it can be lost. And right now it's being lost all around the world. You are literally looking at a bank with 4 branches that became the Federal Reserve. But because it's under the Federal Reserve shut it down. This is wild. It says the action does not cite specific stablecoin commitment from Farmington. However, according to a Globe Newswire posting, on October 24th of 2022, Fluent announced a partnership with Moonstone, which is a subsidiary of Farmington, followed the name change, claiming that it would issue a U.S. stablecoin. The bank has agreed to sell off, like I said before, its deposits and its loan portfolio. This is absolutely insane. And to be honest with you, I think you are going to see this is just the beginning of it. I do not believe that there's a lot of other banks issuing stablecoins, but I believe you're going to see a ton of banks come out. And this FTX fallout is just too much for them to bear and too much for the Federal Reserve to keep taking on. Because the Fed, as the repo window gets bigger and bigger and more banks are racing to it, because this is getting worse as time goes on. It's not like the Fed opened up this emergency issuance and it's getting better. It's actually getting worse. More and more banks are running to them. At a certain point, the Fed's going to go, okay, this is too big. We need to go to the taxpayers. We need the account holders. We need either the government to bail these banks out, which I do not believe is going to happen, or we're going to have the account holders bail in the bank, which means the bank will legally be able to come in and take a percentage of everyone's accounts. That is set up. Those laws, the banking laws, were set up back in 2013 to 2015. Actually, I think it was even earlier. I want to say it started in 2012. My point being is just go Google bank bail-in and see what it is and see if your bank has been a part of it. But it's not even your bank. You can't specifically look for your bank. It's the country. The country took it on. The Federal Reserve took this rule on. And it happened all around the world when Greece and Cyprus were happening. It was a massive, massive experiment. And that experiment is going to come into the light here, I believe, in the next 2 years. And as a matter of fact, I believe it'd be absolutely shocking if it didn't happen prior to the election. All right, with that being said, I thank you so much for watching. The Economic Ninja is out.